Kalimera, Kalispera, whatever time you're watching. This is Mappa. I'm Stel. I've got Thassos. Bonsoir, monsieur.
Bonsoir. Oh, it's a late one tonight, isn't it, for us?
Yep, it is indeed. It is indeed.
Yeah. So I just try and keep the eyes open. We've got plenty to talk about today, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so shall we get the show on the road?
Let's go. Let's go.
This could go on forever, man, honestly. Yes. That was very satisfying.
Okay, fine. I mean, it's going to make sense if my video. It's going to make sense for people if my video wasn't frozen while I was doing that, and also right. For the audio medium, it's not going to make any sense whatsoever while I was making that noise.
Power up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
exactly.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Our friends Aris lost 2-1 in their Champions League qualifier first leg against Rakov. It was a disaster class defensively, my friend, but they got a goal back with a minute to go thanks to, what was it, minutes ago? 5 minutes ago? I don't know. It doesn't matter. They got a goal.
Yeah. I mean, for kind of both the goals, big defensive errors, caught in possession for the first one wasn't great from Steve Iago there. I think it's Steve Iago, isn't it? And then kind of, they've got a back four, but you only see 3 defenders kind of defending that. And there's no marking whatsoever, plenty of ball watching, and fairly easy finish for the Rakov forward there, kind of coming in on the inside.
Yeah.
We already spoke about kind of the defensive frailties that Aris are having. So they made the change. They took Musunda off and Boyakie started the game instead. It didn't help much. Again, attacking wise, whenever they got the ball forward, you could see what they were trying to do. They had a game to play, and they were trying. Kind of as soon as the weather changed in the second half, though, the team's tactics kind of went a bit out the window, didn't they? It was like you had that sheet rain, the kind of stuff that you see. You're like, the kind of rain that goes through you, kind of stuff. Wasn't a great display, kind of, especially in the second half from Aris. But never say never. They made some changes, got some fresh legs out. Then Mayambella right at the end scored a pretty good goal. I think he gave it a good whack, didn't he? When it finally comes up in the highlights.
Yeah, he gave it some welly.
Yeah. But yeah,
you put your ass into it.
Pretty much. That's what it was, wasn't it? It probably gave it a bit of a spin. But yeah, kind of the other way, you'd think on the return leg there'll be Aris will probably be playing to the hot weather that they're going to have, in the middle of August in Cyprus. Even if it's in the middle of even if it's at 10 o'clock at night, it's going to be hot in Limassol, and it's probably going to be a bit humid as well. It always is this time of year. So It's going to be interesting to see how Rakov deal with the weather. But here you go there. So people watching it on the video can kind of see the kind of sheet rain that they had going, and then Iago there concedes the penalty. I don't think there shouldn't be.
It would be perfect for the Rihanna music video. Umbrella.
Oh yeah,
My Umbrella. Ella.
And the T-shirt as well.
And we have the My Umbrella T-shirt, boys and girls, which I'm going to show you in just a moment.
But yeah, I don't see how Iago's arguing there that wasn't a penalty. But yeah.
He's not going to not argue about it, is he? Let's get it right.
Of course. But yeah, it's pretty blatant. I don't think you need VAR for that.
No. For sure.
But I think a lot of the players will realise. You can see Van Alves screaming at everybody else around him, "Come on!" I think a lot of those players will agree that this wasn't one of their better performances.
No.
But yeah, they kept the defeat to one goal, which means it's anybody's game in Gibro, which is
absolutely.
exactly what you want for the return leg. So I still think it's advantage Aris for the time being.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. They still have a chance of going through an early goal and it's game on. But it goes back to what we said against Bate. Better teams will punish them defensively. And here's a strike with 3 minutes to go. Great hit from Mayambela. Great hit from Mayambela. And you could tell by the reaction of the head coach that they didn't want that. They really didn't want that, because a 1-goal deficit against a team like Aris that are very, very dangerous on the counter-attack, again, it spells trouble. But as I said, if they get their defensive frailties sorted, then they stand a chance of going through. But it's important that they stay focused, and it's important that they don't suffer any injuries in training, because they need to be at full strength. They need to be. I don't know how Rakov did at the weekend, to be honest. I haven't checked their results, but they're a dangerous team.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, Rakov played the same kind of game as Aris. They've got same kind of recent history. They've got a lot of similarities. So you'd expect these two games to be quite close. Now, the game in Poland, I think, poor finishing on Rakov's side and some heroics from Vana Alves kind of kept Aris in the game. They were really not at the game at all for long periods of that, and that needs to improve in Limassol.
Yeah, and they've got their own Greek, haven't they? Papa Nicola.
Yeah. I saw that. I saw that as well. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who he is, to tell you the truth. I don't know if you've got any details on him.
Well, I can bring up the good old transfer mark, to be honest.
Yeah, but there's
24 years old. He's won 5 trophies in his career. He was at Panionio beforehand, and prior to them, Bladanias. I don't know who they are. Never heard of them before.
So basically, a couple of Super League 2 teams then. The Bladanias are a Super League 2 team.
I guess
think
so.
That's where Melissas has come from Nel Salamina.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
I think. Don't nobody at me. I'm just. This is off the top of my head. It's probably completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's a goalkeeper who's played in Gibro, who has been at Bladanias. I think you know what? I think it might be Yorgalidi, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not going to look it up. It's fine.
Just slightly deviating. I love when you go on Transfermarkt and you look at the transfers and then it says transfer date, and the drop down, the first option is doesn't matter. Anyway. Well, I mentioned a T-shirt earlier, and we now have the Mayambela Fanella. Here we go. So if you'd like to purchase the Mayambela T-shirt, let us know. We can get that printed for you. It comes in various colors, but ideally you'd want it in green, because it goes very well with this and the outline and everything. So yeah, let us know if you want the Mayambela Fanella. In fact, I put it up on our Instagram and Gomis liked it. So we've got the seal of approval from his team.
Yeah, so. I mean, he wouldn't be smiling because it's raining as well. So
Well, maybe he's happy to see rain.
No, but like the image is like, I don't know. Obviously, it's serious business, right? While you were doing that, I did look it up. It is Yorgalidis who was at Bladanias.
Okay.
So, yeah, see, it's in there.
Congratulations!
That's pushed out somebody's important phone number. Me knowing that Yorgalidis paid for Bladanias.
Fair fucks. Yeah. All right, on to the next game. And AEK Larnaca, 1-1 draw against Maccabi Tel Aviv. I had to say that because I wasn't sure the other day. When I went on BFBS, I said Maccabi Haifa, but they're all Maccabees to me. Anyway, so 1 apiece. It was an end-to-end game. The first 15-20 minutes, pretty dominant, the Israelis. They took the lead. An equalizer came for AEK. And then in the dying moments, they won a penalty, and Triskovsky had his penalty saved. My friend, what did you make of this game?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Tel Aviv being kind of dominant for the first 15, 20 minutes, but Ajax were nowhere. I mean, they seem to did a pretty good job of trying to keep Biton, what's his name, and the other Zahavi, trying to
Yeah.
keep him quiet, making sure they don't score. But the midfield was non-existent. I mean, look, they have 9 players behind the ball there for this movement specifically here. Yeah, I mean, the Israelis could have, if it wasn't for a couple of good Pirich saves, or I think Zahavi had like 4 or 5 chances and he missed, and Cohen, I think, who ended up scoring in the end, missed a few chances as well. If it wasn't for them misses, I think I could have lost by 3, 4, 5 goals in this game. They were getting absolutely dominated. Yeah, but you expect a manager like Robbie Keane looking after him. You'd think they'd be able to finish a shot, but whatever. Yeah, the goal as well. Once it comes up, it's fine. It's a goal. Not much to say about it, really. And then kind of on the other end, Ajax goal as well. Farage kind of gets the nod on from Trzaskowski. Yeah. All right. My thoughts are all over the place. Basically, Ajax were not at the game at all until Trzaskowski showed up. Like he put Trzaskowski on, and the game changed. Like it was like Ajax had somebody that they could basically blast the ball up to, hold up the ball, lay it off to players like faster players like Farage, and that's kind of where Ajax goal came from. Is that kind of movement that for some reason the Israeli defense couldn't deal with. But yeah, I mean, so many chances for Maccabi Tel Aviv that on any other day you'd see them probably hit the back of the net. It was
they were pretty clear cut, in all fairness. And while Ajax did well to, that's a great strike, by the way. While Ajax did very well to get bodies behind the ball, there were always pockets of space where Maccabi were able to exploit and get shots away. And you can't do that in Europe. You could probably get away with it in the Cypriot League because obviously the quality isn't great in comparison. But as you see with this goal, you can't give him half a yard or a yard to switch the ball inside and hit it. And he just walloped it. And there was direction, there was curl. It was, Pirich had no chance. So, again, it goes back to what we said about the levels of quality. You see in the counter-attack, like only players Ajax get back. All right, granted, it was the wrong decision by the winger, but there was still 3 Maccabi players in the box waiting for the pullback. But, man of the moment, who was absolutely incredible last season, Farage gets an equalizer. And at that point, I think it was against the run of play. But again, once he leveled it up, I thought they're going to go on to win this. But unfortunately not. Wasn't the case.
Yeah. But again, you see Trzaskowski then causing problems again in that highlight that just went. And
Route 1. Nothing
there you go.
special.
And it's a good finish from Farage. It's he still had plenty to do. He had to keep it calm and stuff, but you'd expect him, a player of his quality.
Do you remember he scored a goal like that against Aris last season, where he was played through, and he just about snuck it under Van Alves? But this was a more composed finish. He brought the ball down, great first touch, and outside of the boot, beyond the goalkeeper. It was a tidier finish. Just put it that way.
Yeah. But I don't seem to be the same team. At least before the season starts, they don't seem to be the same kind of team as last season. I think maybe the manager has them playing a bit more conservatively, just because of kind of what was happening, after January to the team.
Yeah, I've noticed the fullbacks don't overlap as much as they did last season.
Yeah.
So that could be one of the situations that they have. Of course, they're still getting balls in the box from out wide. Of course, they've still got threats in the box, but I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what it is, because we saw against Torpedo away how wasteful they were, and they almost blew it. And obviously in the second leg, they conceded a goal literally a minute after they scored.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's a bit of ring rust, as they say. I don't know. Maybe it's a lack of match sharpness. Similar situation with Omonia. Maybe their opponents in the preseason weren't strong, which has affected. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but they don't look right. You're right. I agree.
No. I mean, they a lot of the reinforcements they've made this summer as well, because defensively. So, players like Catelaris, Roberge, just trying to think who else, but players like Rosales have gone as well. So probably that change of personnel has led to a change in tactic, just because there's a need for it. They don't have the players that are comfortable with the overlap anymore.
Well, I'm sure there's still a lot more work to do, and maybe we're being a little bit overcritical of them because of how well they did at this stage last season.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps they had a very successful season from a Cypriot perspective, and we're kind of expecting them to do the same this year and have the same momentum. But it seems to me that the squad is a little bit weaker than last season in terms of bodies and quality. Obviously, I don't know if Roberge played. I don't think he did, actually, to be honest.
No, he didn't.
Cadelari, is he still injured? Is he 100%? I don't know. He didn't feature. I don't know. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, but they're not out of it. It's still, they're still level.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just that I think, for the last 2-3 seasons, I have started the season with a rocket up their arse, and then by January, the flame's gone out on that rocket, so the form kind of falls away. So if they're not starting the season superbly, then you're kind of worried about what's going to happen for the rest of the season. I think that's where a lot of people are coming from on that. But maybe they're not starting. Maybe they're not starting great, and then that develops over the season, and they end up finishing great, as opposed to what's happened previously. So, yeah.
Well, there's always a chance, with Faraj starting on the bench. Perhaps they're trying to preserve him a little bit longer than usual. I know they're still looking for a central striker and a number 10, as far as I've been made aware. So they're still looking for options in attack, which is certainly
because they haven't replaced Altman yet.
No,
have they? So
anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to your boys. Huh?
I was going to say, before we move on from that game, I think we need to talk a little bit about the trouble that went on before, during, and after the game as well.
I'll leave that to you.
Yeah. So
I'm not saying a word about this.
No, I understand why. Because for some reason, now this Czech this Czech hooligans Twitter account posted a video of what seems to be Gate 9 chasing Maccabi fans through Landmaga town centre the night before. Now, they're saying that it's Gate 9 and then Omonia 29th of May people, as opposed to Gate 9 Omonia. So, either way, the police came out with a statement afterwards saying that a lot of people from Gate 9 were arrested and reprimanded beforehand. So a lot of the trouble that happened that night was avoided. So it looked like there was something being planned. Police got hold of it and stopped a lot of it from happening. Now, at the same time, during the game and after the game, I think 5 Maccabi fans were arrested as well for trouble during and after the game. So there's a lot of stuff going on between not AEK and Maccabi fans, and Maccabi fans taking not AEK and making it AEK, and starting some crap on that side as well. Lot of hooliganism stuff going on over the last couple of days in European games in Cyprus, in games involving Cypriot teams as well, which I thought, probably need to calm it down a little bit, especially at the moment. What with what happened in Athena earlier on in the week with the AEK fan losing his life. Now, nobody should lose his life for a game of football, man. We don't do that. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to get involved in that kind of stuff. The Mihalis, rest in peace. And hopefully they get everybody involved in that, because it's not on. It's not on. I mean, it's worth saying, but also it's obvious to say it.
Yeah. I'm just more disgusted with how a lot of fans have reacted to it, in the sense that, it's this club that's to blame, and that club's to blame, and this one. And it's almost as if, as opposed to saying what happened was bang out of order, which a lot of people were, a lot of people were more focused on pointing the finger at people rather than, let's just obviously find out who did it and catch the perpetrator, so to speak, but show some respect to the family.
Yeah,
because I couldn't believe it, and you know what, I put up this TikTok video it's before the cup final between Omonia and AEL, and it was Omonia fans in the street. Some of them had their cars with the Trifilli on, just spray painted on, and the amount of comments, it's had over 230,000 views on TikTok, and a lot of the comments are from AEK fans, Olympiacos fans, cussing Panathinaikos, and I'm like, well, it's not Panathinaikos. And then all of a sudden, the moment that incident happened, I'm getting all these comments like saying murderers and this and that. I'm thinking, whoa, like you guys are you're tapped. Honestly, it's weird. Social media is weird. It really is. But anyway, let's move on, because it's
I thought we need to reference it, because we're going to talk about it. There's banners that appeared all over on some of the games as well, all over the place. Which, well, I mean, we're going to talk about it. We're going to bring it up, but it's just that I think we needed to talk about it, get it out in the air. It's there, and we can get on with it. But yeah, there's something needs to change.
Yeah,
something needs to change
for sure. Okay, let's move on to your team. Abuel went to Dila in Georgia, beat them 2-0. It was closer than what the scoreline would suggest, though, wasn't it?
I'd say we were fortunate to get a result here. Like that Thierry Gale, that Thierry Gale is something else. He ran rings around Susic. He was cutting in a lot, which I mean, we were expecting it, because we had our guest last week talk about the fact that we're going to be seeing the Dilagori wingers cut inside and try and get our fullbacks. I was worried about Chabak. It's Susic I should have been worried about in the end. But yeah, the good goalkeeping and some missed chances, and the crossbar kind of helped Abuel on the way. Like that free kick, yeah, that was, that should have been a goal.
Did Belic get something on it though? Did Belic get something on that?
I think he must have done, because that looked like it was going in. Kind of when you see the replay from the one angle, you see it looks like it's about to go in, and it changes. And then obviously we score kind of almost with the last kick of the first half. Set piece comes in, gets cut out, doesn't get cut out properly, gets headed back into the box. Yiayia tries the acrobatics. The goalkeeper kind of reflex save, but pushes the ball into Crespo, and Crespo is not going to have many easier finishes than that.
Yeah.
Really, is he?
Well, the thing is, it was a defensive disaster, because they say you got to clear your lines, which they didn't do. You need to win the first ball, which they didn't. And if you can't win the first, win the second, which they didn't. And then they couldn't even win the third ball. So it was tragic defending, in all fairness. But to be fair on them, they did well to get back into the game. They just couldn't find the back of the net, really.
Yeah. No, they did very well. All credit to them. It's a good performance. It just didn't come up for them. And then in the end, Ephraim comes off the bench and, once again, kind of saves Abuel. He seems to always do. It's like a cometh the hour, cometh the man kind of thing. Like as soon as he comes on, there's something changes in the team. And then there's this free kick that comes in. Chabak wins it in kind of like a central area again. Here we go. Yeah, and then Ephraim takes his free kick. Goalkeeper, I think he's going to be very disappointed he let that through. I think he didn't set the wall up properly. He saw the ball coming late, I think, and that's probably what did it. And then kind of
hasn't he made the history now? Hasn't he scored in all 3 European competitions for Abuel?
I mean, that sounds like it should be correct. I'm not sure.
He made history by scoring.
I think he already did that though against Vojvodina, because he scored the penalty, didn't he?
Oh, okay. Yes.
But he has 11 goals in European competitions, which I think is it's 10 for Abuel and 1 for Omoni, and I think that puts him top for Gibreus scoring in Europe.
Right.
In Europe.
Okay.
But yeah,
that's interesting.
We need that to be a better number than we allowed for Gibreus. But yeah, just for the return leg, the game's not finished yet. 2-0 is a good score, but looking at the way you play, especially if that Thierry Gale is still there, then there needs to be a professional job to be done, which is going to be made harder because Crespo got injured.
Right.
So he was going to miss the game anyway, because before he scored the goal, he got a yellow card. So he got a yellow card, scored the goal, got injured, and got taken off at half time, and got replaced by that 50-year-old slender man. What's his name? The old guy that we got.
Yeah.
He's like 6'6", and he's mostly head. He's very.
Petrovic?
He's
no, that's not his name. Not Petrovic, is it?
It is Petrovic. Yeah. But yeah, he's long. He's not tall. He's long. when you see him compared to it's so weird. But and I think he's going to end up starting with him instead of like Garamanolis or somebody. The Abuel in defense are a bit kind of, apart from the first team, behind that first team is a bit weak. I think there needs to be some kind of improvement somehow, although I don't know how they're going to do it. considering the roster's full.
I think also it goes back to what I said on the last episode with Sarfo and Dalcio. I noticed with this game, they were playing even further forward and they left massive gaps between themselves and Kostadinov. And when you watch the highlights again, you see the counter-attack. Yes, Gale on the left-hand side is causing him problems, but there is a massive hole in front of Kostadinov because the other two, yes, they track back, but it's almost as if neither of them can decide between themselves who's going to get there quicker. And that's got to be a concern.
that's always been a problem with Sarfo because there's a couple of goals that Apoel conceded last season where you kind of see Sarfo is probably the one to get back, and you kind of see him kind of do like a kind of like just flap at the running attacking player, and then just kind of stops running and just lets the player sprint on, especially towards the end of the season. So it's in and Dalcio, I think. I mean, we've seen him. He's an attacking minded player, so he's not really going to track back so much. It's going to be a problem against Dilagori because again, you've got these wingers who are basically inside forwards. So they're going to be cutting in all the time, which means Konstantinov has got a massive job to do tracking two wingers, especially since Chebak and Susic are quite far forward as well.
Well, it's a good lead. It's a good lead to have. I don't think they will be upset with the result, although if and when they do go through, there's a chance they're going to play Ghent in the next round. And I don't
Ghent
know.
don't do well against Cypriot teams.
No, they don't. They don't. I'm not going to lie to you. Last season, we did them home and away. But it's a different Ghent. You know, they're second place at the moment in the Belgian league. 3 wins on the bounce. They played Pogon, didn't they? They played Pogon in the first leg and they beat them 5-0. So they got goals in them. You know, Orban, Gift Orban is a player.
Is scary.
I mean, they're talking about him possibly replacing Harry Kane. You know, at Spurs.
Well, yeah, I'm surprised no one's picked him up yet.
Yeah. So he's certainly a player that will give any club problems. He's not just, and Stabek are laughing because he was only there for like 2 years, I think, 2 or 3 years. He's 21 years old, so yeah, he's got goals in him, man. I think he got 15 goals last season, 15 and 16.
I mean, he got so many in Europe for him.
Yeah,
he's a fantastic player.
Yeah, that's is Kuipers still there as well?
I don't know.
Hugo Kuipers, yeah, the guy that was at Olympiacos. I think he's still there as well. Yeah, Kamil Grosicki, not Grosicki. Stefan Coombs as well, midfielder. Yes, they've got a good team. They've got a very good team, and they've improved from last season. But anyway, let's see.
Well, first we've got to win.
Of course,
we've got to win in Lefkosia first. So let's concentrate on that. I think Sapinto will be saying the same. However, we probably won't know what Sapinto's been thinking after the game, because I don't know if you saw this, but because it rained quite heavily in Tbilisi, and Sapinto just likes having a shirt on. He doesn't wear a coat or anything like that. So it rained quite heavily for him anyway in Tbilisi. And he walked into the press conference room and the air conditioning was on. So he basically sat there for like 2-3 seconds and then got up and walked out. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. And then the press officer for Apoel is there then having to explain why he's leaving. In his response, he's talking about the air conditioning, and they're like, "Well, we can't do anything about the air conditioning," and he says, "Yes." He goes, "Yes, but when we are wet, it is killing."
He closes the door behind him as well.
unbelievable.
Mate, I'll tell you what, I'm not trying to be funny, right? But if he
There's
leaves,
a meme there, right?
yeah, exactly. If he leaves, that's him leaving the club to close the door.
Oh my god, it's fantastic. It's great. I can't believe it. Like, I know that because there's always this massive deal about, you do the press conference. You have to do the press conference. You have to do a press conference after the game. So Abuela probably going to get fined for that.
Yeah.
because he wouldn't put a coat on when he was outside in the rain. For fuck's sake, man.
Oh God Almighty!
Jesus
It's
Christ.
like when you get a knock on the door from the Jehovah's Witnesses and you open it, and that's the first thing you just close it. No offense to Jehovah's Witnesses, I'm just saying. That's what I do anyway. I open the door and they say hello, and I'm like, I'm Muslim. Close the door. It worked when I lived at my mum's, and they struck her off the list, so they don't.
Oh right, anymore.
Yeah. So I did it here a few weeks ago. So yeah, no offense to Jehovah's Witnesses. I've got no problem with you guys. It's just that you guys knock on the door at the most inappropriate times.
They're there waiting.
Try not to do it when I got my trousers down. Anyway, next.
Well, before we do, so this is something that came up in the Omonia game as well. Is the Cypriot fans came out with banners saying, obviously with what happened in Athens, they came out with banners saying only cowards use knives. So that was a thing that came up, and there was a little bit of argy-bargy that happened in the stadium in Georgia between Apoel fans and Dilagori fans, because somebody in the ultras, the inverted commas area of the Dilagori fans, put up a banner saying free BBB. Now, BBB are the Dynamo Zagreb ultras.
Right, okay.
So something, obviously, some people got riled up because of the banner, and there was a bit of a coming together. But it wasn't anything, like chair throwing or anything like that, that we reported on previously. It was just getting to the security barriers on both sets of fans and just people shouting at each other, mostly.
It's shameless. It's absolutely shameless. And the worst thing about it is, I genuinely believe that when these idiots, because that's what they are, when these idiots put up those sort of banners, they're not doing it because they genuinely mean it. It's because they want attention. They want to seem. They want to seem like they are part of this renegade group of football fans that are just nothing but fighters. It's like those morons in Russia that turned up to fight the England fans wearing their MMA gloves. I mean, fucking idiots.
Yeah, no. What it is, it's like 15 and 16-year-old edgelords being like, "Oh, look how edgy and funny I am." Oh, that's what it is. A bunch of 14, 15, 16-year-olds being like, "Come on, then, you're awesome."
Yeah. It's like I've seen it with Arsenal fans, but we're talking about teenage ones, and they put things up on Twitter like, "Yeah, let's meet up at the Tollington and start trouble and sing songs about Spurs because we hate Spurs and we think Spurs are shit. And what do we think about shit Tottenham?" And you're like, fuck off. Honestly, pardon my language. Piss off.
It's just, oh God.
No.
Well, we can't get beers though.
we can't get our hands on Prime energy drinks, so let's just smash some windows. Back in the day when we were younger, we'd walk down the street, we'd see people drinking was it White Lightning? Cider? Yeah, this big blue bottle, this cider. And nowadays you just see kids with helium balloons, and they think it's cool to. Anyway, I'm not going to go into this. Anyway, let's move on. Move on. So, Omonia did the unthinkable, believe it or not, and beat Midtjylland. Midtjylland, not Midtjylland. I'm sorry. for the new Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs fans, or the Snow White and the Seven magical creatures, or whatever you want to call it these days. But yes, Omonia won 1-0. It was a cagey affair, to be honest. I did have my heart in my mouth. It opened 15 to 20 minutes because Midtjylland were all over us. And I did an analysis on the game, and, crikey, they got in behind us so many times down our right-hand side. But the man of the moment, Roman Bezos, scored a goal which even I think he was quite surprised about, because, number one, Midtjylland's defending was shambolic, and number two, the goalkeeper, I don't know what happened with him. It's almost as if he became a FIFA goalkeeper and it glitched and the ball went right through him. I don't know what happened, but yeah, what are your thoughts on the game, my friend?
I don't want to call it smash and grab, because Omonia had a tactic and they dug in deep, good defensive work, Fabiano pulling off some good saves as well. But Midtjylland, saying that they, we're expecting like this attacking show of force from them. They didn't have that much going forward, did they? It seemed like the central defenders like Lang or even Lesjaks. I've shat on Lesjaks more than most people, but he seemed to have a good game. Lang had a good game. All that central defense had, well, not central defense, but all that back four had a good game. Fabiano as well did.
Koulibaly was a bit nervy in the opening 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But then as the game grew, he became more physical towards Cho, their striker, and the Korean got really frustrated to the point where he picked up a yellow card and got substituted a couple of minutes later. But here's the goal. Goalkeeper, Lössl. I wanted to know where he came from because I recognized him. He was at Huddersfield.
Yep, I was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, no wonder the ball went right through him, because he was in that Huddersfield team that was atrocious. So there you go. Anyway, sorry, continue.
No. I mean, Fabiano doing a really good job in one goal, and then you've got that situation. But yeah, it seemed as well that the Midtjylland defense couldn't deal with the high press, because it wasn't just the Bezos goal that seemed to cause some issues. I mean, there was what's his name?
There was a couple of moments where he put the ball over the top and they just couldn't cope with it. The centre back was literally flapping at everything.
Yeah. And Omonia don't necessarily have the fastest forwards. There is some speed, but they're not well known for speed demon stuff. So I think they're there for the taking. I really do.
Midtjylland, yeah. Well, put it this way: there's two players that I was really in awe of. That was Simsir, the Turkish guy, and Sorensen. Two very, very good players, and they're the ones that make them tick. Without their movement and their ability to shift gears, their system doesn't work. So they're focal points. I watched some of their game today, actually, with the 2-1 win, and they played completely different to what they did against us. So I'm expecting them to play a similar system that they played against us again in the second leg, to try and get down our right-hand side. But defensively, they were all over the place, mate. All over the place. And every time we got near their box, if our movement was better and our finishing was better, I think it'd have been 2 or 3-0, in all fairness. That being said, we did ride our luck, especially at the end, where we're about to see the header, which goes just over. And, they're clearly a dangerous team. I'm under no illusions whatsoever. This ain't going to be easy going to their place. And, as I said, I don't know if you saw the analysis that I did. They're a very, very good team on the ball. Very good team. They're probably the most difficult opponent we've had for a couple of seasons, in all fairness.
You mean in the qualifiers?
I think in general.
You played Man United.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, in terms of, okay, well, look, United, I think it goes without saying that, United are one of the elite clubs. And I expected it to be a very one-sided game, both of them. But with United, we shocked them. We were a goal up at half-time. And yeah, they did have their chances. It was only when they made Rashford come on with Martial that they gave us even more problems and got their goals. But they were defensively ropey as well. Ghent, another better team than us on paper, we took them apart both legs. But I think Midtjylland, in terms of their movement, in terms of their technical ability, I think they were one of the best teams that we've played against in the last calendar year. Even before that, I think Antwerp were another very good team that we faced. And again, at home, I know we beat them 4-2, but their defensive frailties were there. And it just seems that the teams that we've played against that we shouldn't be beating or shouldn't be anywhere close to, we've got close to them. Like Sociedad, we shouldn't have got close to them away from home, but we almost came away with a draw. But the teams that we should be, leveling close to, like your Sheriffs, like who's that other team that we played a couple of years ago from Kazakhstan? I forget their name. They took us apart.
Astana, Mati.
It's weird. It's weird. Even Gabala away from home, like we got out of jail in that one.
Yeah.
Away from home. Sorry, not at home. Away from home.
Yeah.
So anyway, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm happy for now.
Yep. Well, I mean, we're all happy for the moment because the coefficient is obviously going up.
Yep.
We're only it was something. It's something very, very close between us and Sweden right now for that 22nd place. It's like 25 points. it's like something minuscule.
Yep.
So what we want to be doing is we want to be picking up all 4 teams in Europe, regardless of what colours they play in. We
need 2 draws and 2 wins, and we're happy.
Yeah.
2 draws and 2 wins.
Exactly. Yeah. So
anyway. Shall we move on?
Come on. Fucking come on. Oh, come on. Cyprus is massive, mate. Yeah.
Hade, next story.
All right. Now we're going into the stories now. So we've done the football. Now we're doing the sideshows. So first of all, last week we talked about
resistance.
Yeah, exactly. So last week we talked about Bafos making a new signing and him not being much of a manga. Well, it turns out we can now remove the word allegedly from when we're talking about him because he has been punished in Brazil for being involved in this match-fixing ring. So he's been fined 30,000 Brazilian money. I'm not sure if that's a big amount or not. I'm going to have to ask people whether that's a big amount of money. And he's also been banned from football in Brazil for a year. So it's awfully convenient for him to come on loan to Cyprus just prior to the announcement of the punishment, isn't it? It's very convenient. But yeah, so he joins a couple of others who have been punished for crimes that they've done that we no longer have to say allegedly to. So there we go. Manga is not a manga.
Yes. Well, fingers crossed we won't get any phone calls from Buffer.
Well, put it this way, right? From what I gather.
Sorry, from Ali FC. Sorry, Ali FC.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. From what I gather, we just need to keep an eye on when he gets yellow cards. So there you go.
Hey, Thassos, anyway. let's play a game. If I put a letter on top of my head, can you tell me a footballer whose name begins with that letter?
Go on.
I'm joking.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure what's that in reference to. I get it. Changing the subject. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Right. Got you. Yeah. Got you. Okay. Fine. I'll change the subject. So, Wardavision season 3 is officially cancelled.
No.
Yes. The alleged sex pest has left Cypriot and gone to Morocco. He's been announced officially by Raja Casablanca. I don't know if you saw the video. But,
no, I haven't. No.
But the media team at that club, good job.
Okay.
Good job. I mean, at the end of it, they reveal it's Amar Warda, but they did a really good job on the video beforehand. Yeah, so, he's looking at you, kid.
Oh. Good luck to him, kind of.
He's looking at you, kid. It's from Casablanca. Okay, all right, move on to the next one. Right. Yeah. Apollon have signed...
this pun last week?
No, we did a different one. We did a different one.
Sorry.
It was Play It Again, Sam.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and then you said something about Ingrid Bergman being naked.
Yes.
So yeah, no, don't worry. Anyway, it does mean that now, after this week, in theory, there's no reason to talk about Amar Warda anymore.
It's quite sad, isn't it?
It
End
is.
of an era. End of an era.
It is. Pour one out for us not being able to talk about Amar Warda anymore.
Well, listen, this is Mappa and this is Cyprus. Don't be surprised if something very similar or we have some other shenanigans going on this season, because while the new signings have come in to the clubs and a lot of them have very big reputations, this is Cyprus.
Yep.
It's the gift that keeps on, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, somebody else will pop in. Don't worry, Mexican soap operas and whatnot. Yeah. Right. That one's done. Next one. Apollon have signed maybe their Jovanovic replacement in goal.
Ooh.
So this is a Dutch goalkeeper called Peter Leuvenberg. Leuvenberg. Okay. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a weird spelling. Anyway, he was in the Ajax youth teams. He's played for Dordrecht, and then he went to South Africa and played for Cape Town City, and then FC Groningen.
Okay.
So he's gone to Dutch-ish speaking places. You could argue Afrikaans is near to Dutch and whatnot, but yeah. He got released by Groningen. The last game he played for them, he got sent off in the first half, and the team went on to lose 6-0.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, people change. The circumstances change, I guess.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, they were only 1-0 down, and then he got sent off. So the other 5 goals are somebody else's problem. It's just his last game for Groningen, he got sent off. But yes, he's got 45 clean sheets in 169 games.
Okay.
So that's some pretty good statistics.
It's good.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
They'll need the clean sheets because they played a friendly, I don't know if you know, this week.
Yes.
One of them played a friendly against Napoli.
Yes.
And they kept the score respectable.
Yeah, that's right.
It was only a 2-0 loss. Osimhen was one of the goal scorers. I can't remember who the other one was. But Napoli put out a very strong team as well. It wasn't like a friendly for the sake of a friendly. It was they put out what would probably entail a lot of their first team. Their first 11.
Di Lorenzo was playing, Zielinski, Lobotka, Raspadori, Osimhen. Maradona was playing.
Yeah. They played all their big guns and they only managed to win 2-0.
Yep.
So I think that's a very, 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 very respectable score.
Absolutely. So yeah.
No.
Well done, Apollon.
But kind of when you look at their team sheet, who's going to score the goals for them?
Well, yeah. it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because obviously Dingin is the only, I'd say, out and out goal scorer that they got. I don't know. I really don't know.
There's that guy they signed from Indonesia as well.
Yeah,
the
the
name is
Polish fella.
Krichmanov.
Yeah,
The guy without any vowels in his name.
He wasn't even on the bench.
Because he has an injury record. So if he's injured, I think Apollon need a striker.
Yeah, possibly.
They need a goal scorer in there.
Well, they haven't got European football, so I don't think they'll be desperate for it.
No.
But anyway.
No.
And they've got Sagal as well, who can score goals.
Yep, but he's more of a winger, isn't he? Though.
Yeah, true.
So are they going to play 4-6? Brazil, Barcelona tiki-taka style. Yeah?
Possibly. You never know. Don't put it past them.
Right, but yes. Next story.
Yes.
Come on, everybody. What time is it? It's Chico time. That reference is probably only for like 6 people.
Oh my god. This podcast is singing to new lows.
Doing the podcast.
We're singing to new lows.
No, but listen, I had to find something to put there for Chico Banza because we've been, it's the saga of the summer for Cypriot football.
Will he? Won't he?
Yeah, especially since Chico Banza's decided to get every team involved in the bloody thing as well by wearing those different football shirts that he was wearing when he was training in Angola.
So Peter Odemwingie all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, oh my god, yeah, I saw that the other day. I don't know why it came up the other day, but yeah. Oh yeah, because it was taking so long for Kane to sign for Bay. But yeah, so I'm just going to mention quickly what's gone on, just in case people haven't been listening. He was supposed to show up for preseason training at Nea Salamina when everybody else did, but Nizhny Novgorod seemed to have showed some interest in him. So Chico Banza decided to stay in Angola and do his preseason training at home. Now, Nea Salamina contacted him 2-3 times to try to get him to come to Cyprus for pre-season training, to the point where they actually booked him another ticket to get to Cyprus, and he basically left the sporting director in the Larnaca airport holding the piece of paper up that says Chico Banza, and he was just waiting there and waiting, and he didn't show up. And then Anorthosis heard about this and decided this is a player we want. So it seems that it's been reported that the fee that Anorthosis have paid Nea Salamina for Chico Banza is 170,000 euros, which I mean, it's not a big amount of money when you normally look into it, but this is a transfer between 2 clubs in Cyprus, one of which has never had money, and the other one which is having massive financial troubles at the moment. So where they got the 170,000 euros to spend on Chico Banza is
that's a good one. Although what I will say, both clubs have a few things in common, don't they? And I believe, didn't they have a testimonial game for Marcatha recently, or a farewell game?
Yep.
So listen, agreements occur. Perhaps they're paying that 170 grand over a certain period of time, maybe in installments. So perhaps it wasn't upfront. for all we know, there might be another deal coming soon between the clubs where another player goes the other way. I don't know, but they make it work in Cyprus. They make it work somehow.
They do.
Somehow.
They do.
But anyway.
Yeah. All right. Do you want me to show you how they announced it as well?
I'll bring it up right now, my friend.
No, I was going to say I'll bring it up, but yeah, fine.
It's here. Here you go.
There he is. The eyes, Chico, they never lie. Now, I struggled with this for a minute, and then I realized that they superimposed Chico Banza's cartoon head on Scarface.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chico Banza coming soon to a stadium near you.
Yeah. Although, if I remember correctly, that scene was actually Al Pacino was actually driving during that when he said that line.
Yeah.
Whereas this is the scene at the end where he's got the mountain of cocaine in front of him, and he's got as you can see in the background, there's the oil painting. Yeah. So yeah. But anyway, at least they tried. I must say, at least it's a good effort. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, still a little bit cringe. But
yeah,
I prefer the reggaeton Don thing, But then again, he's from Angola, so even that wouldn't fly. Well, they could have done like Razor Ramon. Do you remember Razor Ramon, the WWE wrestler? Hey Chico with the toothpick. Yeah. That could have been the announcement video. We could have had Chico Bantha just walking on the screen like Razor Ramon, and then get the Chico's going to carve you up,
Listen, for me, they needed to pull out It's Chico time.
Oh, fucking hell. Fucking hell.
Right. Okay. Next one. Right. We need to talk about AL.
Oh dear.
We need to talk about AL.
Oh dear.
There's a couple of people that are going to be very disappointed we're talking about AL.
We have a friend that's an AL fan that watches the pod, and I don't want to let him down. I'm sorry, bro.
No, but we need to talk about this because it's sad what's happening to the club. It's sad what's happening. I mean, they did the press release for their new kit, and they were like, and half the time they were mentioning this, the anchor. They were mentioning the anchor that's in the, we're going to have this anchor, and it's going to have the club's year of the establishment on there, and it's going to be. It's like shows up the importance of the port to the club and everything else. Now, I mean, I have cropped the picture because the anchor is just, as you're looking at it, it's to the bottom left of the players' shirts.
Right.
So it's a bad crop job on my end, but it's this tiny little thing. They spent about 25% of the press release, the conference that they were doing, just saying, the anchor is very important, and it's like this big on the shirt.
Yeah.
But and then they had the captains come out and kind of pose very like. Muriel is there doing his best impression of.
I'm here for another year. Great.
Yeah, but Medojevic was like, do I look at where do I look? And I didn't do a screenshot of the vest when they had him come on, but it was doing like the whole, like, this, my guy, this isn't the photos for this isn't the official photos, which they put later when they took pictures of the players in the Alfamera Stadium posing in all kinds of places where you actually do that. But it was very, very awkward. Now, there were a few questions. There was a question and answer session, very quick one as well. So they announced Ezekiel Henty is going to be joining within the next 24 hours.
Yep.
That was Friday lunchtime. It's Sunday evening, and there's still been no announcement. At least last time I checked, which was like 2 hours ago, they hadn't put anything out about it.
Yeah.
Also, during the press conference, they announced they received an offer from a club for Aaron Chibola, and the players asked to talk to the club. The club in question is the recently promoted Hatta FC from the United Arab Emirates. And it's a six-figure sum as well that they're paying IL for. So
Okay.
good financially, but Chibola, I think, would have been very important for them for whatever aims they had this season.
Yeah. Well, look, he clearly was one of their standout players last season. There's no doubt about it. And to lose him, to lose Davor, big loss in the middle of the park. Miralas was probably their best player, and he was injured half the time.
Mm-hmm.
Miliziano came in, did what he could. You know, that club is in dire straits at the moment, financially all over the place. I know that if an investor came in, they would entertain it for sure. But as I said on numerous occasions on this podcast, no one with any sanity will go near Cypriot clubs because people can't keep their mouths shut.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. I'm just going to say it. People talk and the non-disclosure agreements go out the window. And it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, so here's another thing, right? During the press conference, the leaders of the Somadio stated that the next 2 to 3 years will be a transition period for the club, and the fans will need to be patient. So they're gearing the fans up for a very difficult 2-3 years. Now, one day later, I had a friendly with Anorthosis, where the coach, Christos Haralambos, was involved in an incident with some fans as they kept saying stuff about his wife and kids, unhappy with how the pre-season has gone.
Yeah, see, there's no need for that.
No,
there's no need
isn't.
for that.
I mean, it's only pre-season as well, but it kind of shows you the negativity around the club at the moment. I think it's like there's some idea of trying to bring people together, whilst at the same time complaining about all the crap that's gone on before. The fans obviously want to support the team, but they want to see better results and performances from the team.
Yeah.
The players have been asked to, especially the ones that have stayed on, have been asked to renegotiate their salary because the club can no longer afford the salary that they were receiving before. And the club as well, so the Somadio itself is saying that it owes some of the players their salary from last season. So it's not looking good at all. I mean, I put in the notes here that I suspect I will be very lucky to finish 8th this year. It's not going well at all, is it?
No, not at all. And look, Casa was a disaster. Teixeira, I think he'll be a big loss for them. Captain.
As well. Yeah.
You know, I mentioned Davor, I mentioned Chibola. And look, the players that they've brought in, I think Ravitsuka, the defender, I think he'll be a good signing for them. You know, this guy was a Zut Valgarum last season. He played for Crotone in Italy. He was at Helsingborg. Good defender. And I think he's, 27, 28, if that. Again, Morera, I think he'll be a good player. But at the same time, okay, Hendy might be a good player. You never know. He did okay.
Yeah, he didn't get the chance at Apollon.
No, he didn't. but George Marsh, unproven, obviously in Cyprus.
Mm.
Say, I'm not sure how he will do. But again, all over the pitch, man. All over the pitch. Defensively, you know, Deves has got mistakes in him. He's an aggressive player. He's been known to give a bit of back chat as well. And if you look at the squad depth, it really isn't great. It really isn't great. And it's got to be a massive concern. And don't get me wrong, they've got a lot of young players in the squad. It's
the
good
young
to see.
players as well, they got some games as well towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
So a lot of those young players have got a bit more experience than otherwise same age players would have in other teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even some of their standout young players from last season have gone, especially Cypriot ones. So Bandeli's gone to Garmiodissa, for instance.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I'm interested to see if they're going to give Luga a chance up front, because he was at Krasava last season, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if they're going to try, but he's 22 years old. He might be an option.
They need to figure out the forward line, because that was the problem from last season.
Yeah,
they had Kakaniklik, they had Berahino, they had Miralas, they had Miliziano, they had so many people playing up front for them, and their top goal scorer had 5 goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Well, as I said, it wouldn't be surprised if they give Luga a chance. You know, this lad was at Atalanta's academy. He was at Palermo's academy, and then he ended up in a few other obscure clubs. I think, didn't he go to Bulgaria at one point, if I'm not mistaken? I don't know. I don't even know where he went. He might have gone to Bulgaria for a bit and then ended up back in Italy. Then, anyway, long and short of it is they certainly need a striker. And if they're going to trust in youth, which I think would be a good thing, don't get me wrong, at the same time, are a lot of these youngsters ready? They haven't been known to produce many great youngsters. Not that I can remember anyway. People will correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm happy to do that. But it is a concern. It is a concern for them, and I think 8th. You said they'll be lucky to get 8th. I think they'll be lucky to get bloody 10th. To be honest,
it's going to be a struggle for them.
Yeah,
it's going to be a long season. Yeah. Sorry, Isle fans. It's going to be a long one. I mean, last season I said they were going to come first.
Well, you know, we're not going to go into that again.
No, but you know, the kind of the optimism at the beginning of last season compared to the feelings that they've got this season, it's like 100 to 0 at the moment. It's really bad.
Anyway,
next one.
We've got next.
So going to go to English Cypriot stuff for a minute.
Ooh.
We've got New Salamis win an extra time in the FA Cup. What's it called? The round that they were in?
First
extra
qualifier?
Preliminary round replay.
Okay.
So they were playing Redbridge FC, and they drew in Redbridge. So they got a replay in Haringey, and it was 1-0 up to the 95th minute. Then Derek Asamoah got it. Fucking have it. 1-1 took it to extra time. And they won the game in extra time. They didn't have to take it to penalties, so that's a good thing. But yeah, they ended up winning the game 3-1. So, golf clap. Yeah, there we go. Well done, lads. Well done. Of course, then they played the first league game of the season, and then they lost 3-1.
We won't talk about that.
No, we won't talk about that. But yeah. So that, next one. Anorthosis are your yiayia's favourite team. your yiayia, my yiayia, all the yiayias, right? The club,
Come on.
yeah, exactly. So the club has decided to award honorary plaques to Stavroula Sophocleus and Fodini Evangelou. So Mrs. Sophocleus is being awarded this honorary plaque because she uses her pension money to buy season tickets for children in need.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, she
Nice.
did. Yeah. And now Mrs. Evangelou, who's the one who was just on screen there, is because she is a big fan of Anorthosis. Like she led the fans that showed up to the first training session of pre-season. So she was there. She was like lighting flares and getting everybody cheering and all kinds of stuff.
Amazing.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, like proper wholesome stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
She wasn't the one that threw the Molotov.
No. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's got a problem with Knobloch. I don't know. But yeah,
it wasn't her. I promise.
No, it wasn't her. No. I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm saying it now. She wouldn't have been able to throw it. Right. We've got some. So there's a few bits of transfer news for Omonia. I don't know if I'm gonna blast through them a little bit for you. So we've got Brandon Barker got released. I mean, he was basically released like 9 months ago or whatever. Yeah, he's officially gone. Hector Euster has signed for Indian Super League champions Mohun Bagan.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got Didos Prokopiou signing from the Olympiacos youth teams. Is that right?
Yeah, in Greece. Yeah, former ball on.
Sorry, the good Olympiacos.
Yeah.
and then we've got Asimenos as well. Got loaned out to the crap Olympiacos.
Yes.
And there you go. So Olympiacos Lefkosias have got a team that are going to completely. They're going to. I don't want to. They're going to fuck that league, man. the team sheet on that team is something else. I think they're gonna walk it. I think.
Yeah.
And then watch them do a season like I had last year.
I'll leave it out.
And then the last bit, I just wanted to chuck in very quickly. Bittas watch.
Okay. Yes.
AEK drew 2-2 with IFK Broma Pokiana.
Okay.
There's a J in there somewhere.
I'm not even gonna try and pronounce it, so I'm going with that.
Yeah. Well, so there was no goals for him. 3 shots. But yeah, the story of the game seems to be that one of his forward partner buddies, whose surname is Faraj, scored an own goal and then scored in the correct end to equalise within a minute of each other. So the 86th and the 87th minute, he went from 0 to hero like. Now Bittas played all 90 minutes. Well, he played the full game. And kind of when you look at the lineup in Google, they give ratings for everybody, and Bittas got 4 out of 5 compared to some of the ratings around him. That's very, very positive.
Okay.
So I think the Gibrei have been at it going like 5 out of 5. But yeah, no, he was a pain in the ass for the IFK Broma Pokiana defense, which will piss off Olof Mellberg because he's their manager. And the only reason I know that is because it's Olof fucking Mellberg. Is the beard Olof Mellberg. Amazing defender for Villa. But yeah, there you go. So that's all the news items, I think. I think we've got rid of all the news items, unless there was something you wanted to bring up.
No, nothing at all. We've got some time for some questions because you put up a request for questions on Discord and on our Facebook group page. So we have a Discord and a Facebook group page. It's all in the description. Don't forget to like and leave a comment. Let us know what you think of this pod. If you want to jump on, that'll be great. The more the merrier. If you got any stories or anything that you'd like to tell us, any information, we'll take that on board. But we have some questions. Questions. Let's start with Mario.
Yeah.
He said, or should I say, he asked, how far can Cypriot teams actually go in Europe?
As far as they can. No, listen, right. I got to the quarterfinals, right, of the Europa Conference League. Now, you could say that they probably got a bit lucky because of the third place in the Europa League.
Yep. So
this year is going to be a bit difficult for a Cypriot team to get to the same point as last year. So I think it'll be a while before we see anybody in the quarterfinals again of a European competition. Now it depends. I'd say it depends who Aris get in whatever group stage of a competition they end up in.
Yeah,
I think they'd have a good chance to go far, dependent on who they end up in.
Sorry, did you say they're guaranteed Europa League?
No, they're guaranteed a European group stage competition.
Right. So if they go through and then they lose in the next round, they go into the Europa League. If they go out this round, they go Conference League.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Understood. Okay.
If they go out here, then they'll have the playoff round for the Europa League.
Right.
If they win that, Europa League. If they lose that, Conference League.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But if they go through this round, they're still guaranteed Europa League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Fine.
So yeah. So there's all a chance that they could do as well or better, but it all depends on who they get in the group stages, because you've got to remember Aris's coefficient is, I mean, it'll be the worst out. It'll be one of the worst out of the teams in the group stages, just because they don't have any history in the competition. They only played one qualifying round last year, and that's basically it. So they don't have anything coefficient wise.
Yeah.
Which will make them fourth seed for any group that they end up getting drawn in.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, look, the way I see it, right, is Upwell are likely to go through, right? And if they play Ghent, then there's going to be problems. But again, you never can tell. You never can tell. I'm not saying never. Omonia, if we get through Midtjylland, it's still going to be a difficult game against Legia or Austria Vienna. But again, never say never. As for AEK, crikey, they're going to need to get past Maccabi Haifa. And if they do...
Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Sorry, Maccabi Tel Aviv. If they get through that, then they play Selce of Slovenia.
I think they've got the best chance of getting through to the group stages if they get through to the playoffs.
Yeah. So anyway, but to answer his question, obviously it depends on if they get to the group stages. Now, if they get to the group stages, then anything can happen. And to be fair, again, sorry to go cliche, but the transfer window closes mid-September. We've still got a month to go. So the players that come in for any of these clubs, or should I say the quality of the players that come in, depend on where these clubs go in Europe. It's a fact. So I could tell you this for now. If Omonia get past Midtjylland, then there's a chance that they'll bring in a striker before the next round. But if we go out to Midtjylland, we probably will bring in a striker, but the quality of striker won't be as good as what we would if. Do you get what I'm saying? So
yeah.
A lot of variables, but that's the cop out answer, I guess. But sorry, Mario, that's the way it is. His next question is: has the level of Cypriot football gone down, or has it increased in the last decade? Because I believe For top teams, they haven't increased in quality, and I might even say that they have regressed instead of progressing. That's why smaller teams have caught up and even surpassed them in recent years.
It's an interesting question. I think there's been some clubs that have been sat content with where they are in life. So, for instance, Omonia won the league, and then after they won the league, like you had the interview. You had the interview the other week with
Leonida.
Yeah, exactly. And he said he was telling the club to push on so they could dominate, and they did the opposite. They rested, so everybody else caught with them. Abuel are going through massive financial issues at the moment, so it's going to be very difficult for them to push forward. Anorthosis, the same thing. But yeah, they fell off a cliff last year. They needed to improve. Now, at the same time, smaller clubs in inverted commas have had a lot more investment come in. Aris and Bafos have pushed themselves up the league, basically supercharging their roster compared to other teams. But saying that, like AEK have been run very efficiently, so they've performed well where they need to. They're working in such a way that what they're doing seems the most sustainable out of everybody. But again, they're trying to kind of go that little bit further, jump up another step, and it's whether or not they can do that. So I don't think the level's gone down. I think there's a few teams that kind of sat back and been content with how things have gone on, whereas some other teams have pushed further, and which is why you've got teams like now Salamina kind of scraping at the heels of the big boys.
Yeah. The thing is, I think there is no right or wrong answer to this question. And I'll tell you why. Because when Apoel were extremely successful, especially doing well in Europe, they were bringing in players like your Reeses, these big names that did it at the highest level, who were at the tail end of their careers, but could still do a job.
Yeah.
We're still seeing that now. Do you get what I'm saying? We're still seeing that now. So that hasn't changed, right? But we're seeing less players over the age of 33 coming to Cyprus now. We're seeing players maybe at the end of their peak or at a younger age. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the reason and I agree, the big teams have regressed, although that's because, number one, they're a victim of their own success. So Anorthosis haven't kicked on since qualifying for the Champions League. Apoel haven't kicked on since being so dominant. They haven't continued that dominance because it leads me on to the second reason, their financial mismanagement.
Yeah.
If they had the right people there, and the same goes for Omonia, because we almost went out of business. So these clubs that were successful over a set period of time, they were, one, victims of their own success because they didn't build on it. And number two, their finances haven't been right. Apollon, look how long it took them to win a league title. Right?
Yeah,
and as opposed to kicking on, they sacked 3 managers.
Yeah.
In one season. So, yes, big teams have regressed. And yes, the smaller teams have improved. But there's still a gulf in ability. And as we saw with the points, you mentioned Salamina. First half of the season, they did pretty well. I mean, they were fighting for top 6. They were very close to getting top 6. But then when the league split and it came to the playoff rounds, Anorthosis finished above them. And Anorthosis were terrible last season. So when the league splits, unless a club is fighting for survival, if, like, for example, again, Salamina, they were safe. There was no way that they were going to go down.
Yeah.
And yeah, they won games, but there were some performances that we were talking about last season. Like, where's the Bursabu gone? And it's almost as if, not that they're down tools, but it was like, oh, you know, the beach is around the corner. Let's go to the beach for this game. Can't be bothered. So there are so many answers, so many possible answers. And yes, there's foreign investment from the smaller clubs like Grida, and obviously with Doxa, with their hierarchy, making decisions to bring in certain players and improve the quality, etc. There are a lot of moving parts with the Cypriot League. And I think the biggest problem that we're going to have with our league is that the big clubs will never learn their lessons.
Yep.
That's my opinion.
Or they'll learn the wrong lessons.
Yeah. So, Anyway, let's go to the next question. It is by our friend in the United States of America, Ryan Guild, the Paralimni fan. Do you see the national team advancing to either one of the top tournaments, or will they be stuck in limbo? If nations like Iceland can make it to the World Cup and Euros, surely Cyprus can as well. Now, Mike Pieri gave a very good answer, which I'm not going to read out because it's a pretty long one. There's no disrespect to Mike. I appreciate the sentiment, and I appreciate the effort. And this is my way to encourage people to go onto our Facebook group page where they can see the full answer. But do you want to give your opinion on this, mate?
The answer for me is no. No, we're never going to qualify for a final for a competition, and it's because the unless will come with the because.
Okay,
and it's because the people in charge of the system don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
and they won't. They'll never know what they're doing, or they will know what they're doing, but they will do it too late, and everybody else has moved on. So they'll still be behind everyone else. I mean, we're talking, look, the late 90s, early 2000s, right? You had Constantino, you had Okaz, you had Gogic, you had Tomic, you had so many players there. And Gomidis, you had Yorgalidis in goal. You had so many good players, right? And we still only talk about, that time they beat Spain. That time they drew 4-4 with Portugal, and it's never kicked on. So like we've got at the moment, we've got players, we've got Johnny's, we've got Castanos, we've got players in England, we've got there's other players in Italy, we've got so many good youth prospects, and we're lining up against Georgia with 6 defenders in the first 11. I mean, that tells you all you need to know. Now, on top of that, organizationally, it's all crap. Organizationally, the Cyprus FA is rubbish. I mean, they did a big promotion. They did a big promotional video about AEK, the AEK youth team winning a UEFA award for youth engagement, grassroots football, right? But kind of the way that AEK were, the people at AEK were describing this grassroots engagement thing was like, I mean, my response to that video was that's what you should have been doing for the last 15, 20 years, not the last 2 seasons. And, we're 15, 20 years behind everybody else, and it's always going to be like that. So I don't ever see us getting into a final into a finals competition.
Tournament, yeah. Well, look, we've said it on numerous occasions on this pod that the Cypriot FA need to be looking outside of Cyprus for talent. And thinking about it more and having various conversations with people, I've kind of understood why they don't do it, because there's this misconception about Cypriot football, and it's by a lot of Cypriots in the UK where they think that Cypriot football is backward, and yet it has its moments, but they think the quality is so bad. And I've spoken to a few youngsters who believe that they can easily walk into a top team in Cyprus, and they can't. They can't.
Yeah.
Because again, and this is no disrespect to them, but then when I look at their quality and the clubs that they've played for in the UK, they could get into a second division team, of course, but the first division is a different animal, completely different animal. And again, it's that element. I would say, I'd say it's an element of snobbery, but it's a lack of understanding. And I'm thinking about GOP, and they're probably saying, well, if we do bring in these British Cypriots or American Cypriots or Australian Cypriots, whatever, number one, they're going to hinder the development of our young Cypriot players. And number two, are they going to not disrupt, but obviously there's still that tension. And it does exist. It does exist. A lot of the young Cypriots out there will be thinking, well, why are you here? Like, why are you in our national team? You don't play out here. You don't know the culture fully. You could just about speak the language. And I can see it. I can understand it. I don't agree with it. And it's a fact. No one can disprove that. That being said, another reason why the Cypriot national team won't get to a tournament in my lifetime or our lifetime is because I firmly believe that there's still the wrong mentality from the Cypriot players. Now, how many times have you and I celebrated the fact that we have Cypriot players abroad? Like you mentioned, Johnny's, Laifi, etc., etc. But why are we celebrating this? Because it's actually happening more often than before. Mm-hmm. So we do know that the quality is there, but I still believe it's a mentality thing in Cyprus. Because I've heard several times that certain players, not just one or two, we're talking 5 or 6 players in Cyprus, have been approached by clubs abroad. We're talking about big clubs. We're not talking about elite clubs, but big clubs abroad. And they've decided not to go because, number one, they're in their comfort zone and they're too scared to go abroad. Number two, they're too close to their parents, too worried about their families. And number three, I think it's got to do with agents as well, wanting to get a better deal for them. And obviously the clubs have something to say about it as well. So it isn't just one problem. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like working in the industry, in the world that I do. Let's say, for example, again, I'm deviating, but I want to give you guys a little bit of an outlook. There's this stigma attached to African footballers, and they think, a lot of these youngsters, they've got 5 or 6 agents, which is true. A lot of them do have too many people involved, which is why it's very difficult to get these players outside. Hence the reason why a lot of clubs in Europe have their own academies in these countries, because they can stay on top of these players. And also they've got the rights to them, image rights or contractual rights, whatever. And they can keep it in-house and focus it, like Nordsjælland do it, various other clubs do it. And in Cyprus, we need something like this. It sounds really messed up, but we need something like this. 1 or 2 clubs that have got a connection with another club in Europe where they can send their coaches, send all of their staff or whatever. But it's not going to happen in Cyprus because most clubs, I'd say 95% of clubs, the owners want full control over everything. And they have friends who are agents or contacts that are agents that also are involved in some way. And that's just the way it is. There's too much makumbaro or philosmu. There's too much of that happening in Cyprus. There's too much nepotism. And again, there are so many different moving parts to this. So the more we delve into it, the more we're going to be thinking, like there's also that to think about. There's also that. So there isn't a short answer to this. There isn't a short solution. You need to put it down in bullet points and say, how can we address each situation for it to work? And it will never happen in our generation, as I said, because the people that make the decisions are the ones that are very set in their ways. Perhaps the next generation or the generation after will get it right. But by that time, it might be too late. Because why? And again, this isn't a problem for me, but there are a lot of non-Cypriots living in Cyprus, like your Russians, your Ukrainians. They're going to have children. They're going to be in the educational system. They're going to be integrated, and they're going to be Cypriot nationals. So we might have Yannis Mikhailichenko playing for the national team one day. It sounds like I'm being satirical, but it's true.
You say that as if it's a new thing. It's not a new thing.
It isn't. It isn't.
It's not a new thing, but it's also not a new thing for players to become not just Cypriot national team players, but to actually become like Gibraeus.
So, for instance, Spogliarits brothers.
Ralphman is basically he's more Cypriot than you and me, Ralphman.
But I don't have a problem with it. But what I'm saying is because Cyprus is becoming more and more international in terms of more and more non-Cypriots living in the island, we're going to have more. It's ratios. And again, I've got no problem with it. Because even now, I'm still surprised that in the UK, we haven't got, if you look at the English national team, for example, you got the typical English surnames, but there aren't any Polish surnames in there. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it happens everywhere. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Completely understand. It's I'm just thinking, at the moment, Spogliarits has got 3 kids, and they've all been picked for the Cypriot national team. You've got Gogic. We've got Alex Gogic. He's playing for St. Mirren and the Cypriot national team. So it's nothing new. It's going to continue, and people are going to get pissed off about it, as they always do. It is what it is. But if those players are picking to represent the nation because they feel an affinity to the nation, it's not just for the sake of, it's not for the sake of, I'm going to play some national games because what's what do they say? Dossa Junior, for example, he's Portuguese.
Yep.
Laban,
Marcata,
Laban is French.
Mardo.
These players, they felt an affinity to the nation to want to represent it in the first place. It's not just, I'm going to represent Cyprus because that's the only country I can play for. It's not because, we're not a great footballing nation as much as we put it across that. We're not. We're a drop in the pot. We're a drop in the ocean compared to some other places. So this is why when someone like Joel Moll decides he wants to play for Cyprus, I'm like, yeah, of course.
I remember when Dobrasinovic was playing for the national team.
Yeah.
Even you mentioned Ralphman. He's another one. So it's not uncommon. Yes.
Yeah, Kekes. Sorry,
Kekes. Yeah.
He's managing a
Cucaracha FC.
Yeah. His son, I think he's in Slovenia at the moment, and he's in the 21s for Cyprus.
Yep.
He's at Trenčín.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And he's in the under 21s for Cyprus.
But anyway, let's go to the next question. Let's go to the next one. Okay. This might have a shorter answer because you don't want to get into trouble. Another one from Ryan. Another question with the issues at Hermes. How do other lower division teams survive? There have been other mergers in the past, and do you see more happening in the future?
So, you made a big deal about it last season. Is that this season the financial help from the Cyprus FA is increasing from, I think it was 20K last season. It's going to be 100,000 this season. So now the clubs have got an obligation to be full-time in the second division. And this is where the strain is, because they don't have the attendances. And because they don't have the attendances or the TV money, they have to find other ways. So, for instance, sponsorship is a bit difficult as well, because they don't have the eyes on the team that you would normally see. So they don't have the tickets. They don't have they don't have much to go with. So a lot of the clubs aren't managing. Is the short answer to the question. So, for instance, Alki Oroklinis went Dugolu halfway through the season last year, which kind of messed up the second division table. Hermes are in a lot of trouble. And the reason why a lot of these clubs are getting into trouble is because they're throwing a lot of money that they don't have are trying to get into the first division so that they can get the away fans from your Abuel or your Anorthosis or your Omonia to get into the stadium and sell some tickets that way. And it's always a problem, because as soon as any of those teams fall out of the first division, for example, they go into a hole. Beja 2014 is, I think, the fourth version of a team from Beja, including Bob Guiniras Bejas, who actually got into Europe at one point as well. And then within 3 years of getting to Europe, they dissolved. So the answer is they don't manage. Now, Stel knows a bit more information about handshakes and whatnot that goes on in the background that he's not going to divulge because he doesn't want to get into trouble. Which also helps with the financial management of some of the clubs. There's also some clubs, there's some refugee clubs who get additional financing from the government, because as a team from an area in the Gadahomena, they are a connection to refugees to the place they're from. So the government helps them to stay afloat. So it's a drop in the ocean for a club like Anorthosis, for instance. But Asilisis, it helps them quite a lot to budget for that.
Yeah. The thing is, there are many clubs in Cyprus, especially in the second division, that can survive because they're self-sustainable within reason. Some of them have foreign investment, like, for example, I think Ayanaba there was a British guy that was interested in buying them a couple of years ago. You have Krasava, which have got a bit of money behind them. Again, if you want to look at Ipsona, look at their history. You've got Olympiacos, who got relegated, but they've had the ownership, the chairman change, so to speak, but they seem financially okay. You've got Omonia Gosienia. I'm not going to talk about that for various reasons. Beja and Agrida, they're okay. Well, Agrida certainly are fine.
Yeah. Agrida's different from everyone else we're discussing, because they've got a model in place where they're actually signing players that they can then sell on for future value. So, for instance, El Jamili, or whatever his name was, got sold to Levski Sofia for a six-figure sum, and that's helping them carry on for this season.
Of course. But then you have other clubs like Bayek, as you mentioned. They're one of the refugee clubs, so they get a little bit extra. But then there's Hermes, as you mentioned, and Box, who Box have had. I'm not even going to go into what I've heard about Box. Again, for various reasons. I'm not going to go into that. Questionable is using the term loosely, I think. So they do find a way to stay afloat, but it is literally, the millimeters away from the nose. That's how close it is to being to drowning. And as far as the third division clubs, I've seen one club, their portfolio on attempting to sell, and it doesn't look financially feasible based on what I've been told by potential investors. So, but what I will say though is if you pick up all of these clubs and dump them in a part of the world where geographically it's not favorable from a political perspective, the clubs are worth nothing. But all of these clubs are lucky that they're in Cyprus for various reasons, not because of the weather, not because of the culture, not because of the way that things are done from a legal perspective out there. But obviously we know about the tax haven. We know that Cyprus is geographically positioned to be very close to the Middle East and very close to Russia. So you've got the British bases, the American interest, you've got the Russian interest, you've got the Arabic interest, close to Africa, so close to Italy. So where it is in the world is beautiful. So any club looking to sell, that is one unique selling point. And then I mentioned the tax situation, which is something that's discussed not in emails, but obviously over the phone or on WhatsApp or on Zoom. But then there's other factors as well. So yes, Cyprus is a very questionable place to invest your money. But from a long-term perspective, given the value of land, given the value and the potential to invest and make money, it is a great place to be. But football isn't the right industry to get into if you want to invest your money, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean,
tourism, apartments, property, housing, even agriculture, fantastic, go for it. But football, stay away from it.
Yeah, you're only getting involved if you love it, and then you probably end up not loving it after that.
Mate, listen, if I had 5 million in the bank, right? I know it's a low figure, right, for football. If I had 5 million in the bank, I would not invest that 5 million in Cyprus football clubs. No chance. No chance. I'd rather shit my hands and clap.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Anyway,
yeah,
that's it.
There was one more question that you didn't mention from Pedro.
Is it? I didn't see it.
No. Yeah, he was asking for my my advice for Omonia to sign the centre forward, because it's a joke between me and him now.
Right.
Is for Omonia to sign Vesenovic.
Well, I'd like to see him back in Cyprus.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd like to see him back in Cyprus.
And you're looking for a forward, so.
Well, yeah, this is it. But unfortunately, you know what it's like in Cyprus, okay? A lot of football fans are so critical about players. Unless it's a player with a strong CV, they shoot them down before they've even got on the plane. Honestly. I'm only been linked with so many players, and I've seen tweets and messages on forums and that kind of stuff, and they don't give the players a bloody chance. Literally, the guy hasn't even packed his bags, and the fans are like, "Oh, you shit! He hasn't got a strong CV." I don't know what to tell you.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's also why you probably got clubs avoiding buying 25, 26, 27-year-olds as well. That's why they're always getting the 33-year-olds, because they're the ones with the CV.
Mate, I'll be honest with you, right? I'm going to say this because I can, right? I was talking to one agent in Cyprus, and I was very impressed with his outlook on football and how he does his business, because you could talk to him about a player being available, and he will say, okay, well, the first thing I want to know is salary, and number two, his injury record, because I don't want to be proposing a player to clubs knowing that, you know, his ankles are made out of glass and he wants 500k a year. I don't do business that way. But then there's other agents I've spoken to. They're like, send me his CV, and if he can negotiate his finances and he's happy to take cash, then we'll find him a club. It's just it. It's ridiculous.
My guy, this is Cyprus.
And that was This is Mappa. Thank you for tuning in, boys and girls. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at This is Mappa, and on Twitter. My Instagram is there. Thassos' Instagram and Twitter is there. Everything is in the description. Anything else, Thassos, you'd like to add?
No, man. Let's get going.
Okay. Well, until next time, hopefully we'll be discussing our teams going through to the next round. Fingers crossed. Until next time.
And the league starting.
And the league starts, yes, on the
next
19th.
weekend. Come
Yes.
on. Let's
Bring it
go.
on. Adios.